We are live. Okay. Welcome to the gathering. We have to analyze a case here that we have seen along the week. So I'm going to read a brief synopsis of the case, okay?
Okay.
It says the case describes the dilemma of a marketing manager, Thomas Green, who, after being rapidly promoted to a new position, is harshly criticized by his boss. Green and his boss disagree on work styles and market projections. Green believes the sales goals set by his boss are based on a creative accounting and grossly overestimate the current market environment. A mood of silent conflict develops quickly between Green and his boss, and Green is concerned that his boss is building a case to fire him. Green's situation is one in which his failure to adapt his work style and fully understand the demands and boundaries of his new position may lead to his discharge. Okay, so now we
Okay.
have the first question. What do you see as the key issues in this case?
What do I see as a key issue?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What
Okay.
do you think is the problem?
The real problem. I would say, okay, so in a corporation, like any company, you can you can be a promote a very quick, but sometimes we have to follow a step one, two, three, four, and and go and going after that. But I believe, Thomas, I would say, he skipped some levels, and that's why, he was lacking of, he was,
Kevin? Irwin, are you there? I can't hear you. No. Mm.
Sorry, Alejandro. I'm back.
Yeah, what
I'm
happened?
back. I don't know what happened. It crashed. The application. All right. So I mean, like what I was saying. I mean, Thomas, he skipped some levels, and that's why he wasn't 100% ready to
Hmm.
give his best into his new position.
Yeah, yeah, he had a lack of experience, I would say, not just the manager expertise that he needed for that position, but he had experience on different levels to be ready to be that in that particular position that he was promoted to. So I think that was a little bit an issue there. And
Right.
other thing, other thing I see as like as a problem was that uh, maybe even when his boss, that was I think his name was Frank, had a different idea of the projections that the company could do. Uh, Maybe before the meeting, first, never argue with your boss in a meeting about the projections. That's bad idea, you know.
Yeah.
And second, uh, you have he should take the time to know his boss, to know how he thinks, to know why that he wants that projections and all that, because Frank was his direct boss. He's gonna answer to him every time. So if
Mhm.
you're gonna start to have difference with him, you're gonna have a very hard day of work.
Yeah. And actually, I mean, I would say another problem was the lack of communication between
Mm,
Thomas and Frank, and
mm-hmm.
because they never share they never bond together. You know what I mean? I mean, they never
Right.
exchange I mean, they never never spend the right amount of time to try
Mm-hmm.
to interact you know you know each other. And also
Right.
Frank had the previous position of Thomas. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why he was still with that kind of, how can I say that, with that the same thoughts. I mean like I'm part of my old position. I'm running my old position, and also I'm doing a new position. This new guy recommended by the high boss
Mm-hmm.
wants to do my job better. So I will I wouldn't help him as long as he asked me for help.
Yeah, yeah. Like Frank wanted another person, and Shannon is the name. Yeah, Shannon McDonald chose Thomas, so it was a little complicated. And that's take us to our second question: is if you were Shannon McDonald, would you have hired Thomas Green? Why or why not?
Sorry, can you say that again? I want to hear you.
If you were Shannon McDonald, right?
Okay.
Would you have hired Thomas Green? Why or why not?
Mm, what do you think?
Um, I don't know how much Shannon knew about Thomas at the beginning. She knew he had like he was very impulsive. He wanted to make the company grow. He has a particular vision, but I don't know how much Shannon have seen Thomas work. How he interact with others, because at least what I understood of the case, I seen Thomas a lot like a lone wolf. He never asked for help. Even when he knew he had to learn from the managers how to be a manager because he lacked from that experience. He never looked for data in the things that he said. He never back up his projections with hard data. So uh, I don't know if she had all that information before he chose him. Uh, if I knew what all that before, probably not. You know,
Mm, right.
Maybe she
So
saw that he had, uh, you know, uh, very enthusiastic person and very ambitious. But I don't know what she knew exactly.
So I mean, like, if I was Shannon,
Mm-hmm.
I would have hired him. Okay, he has like very like a very good energy. He wants to
Mm-hmm.
succeed. He wants to compete.
Mm-hmm.
But in order for me to give him a high position, I I would have like send him to like another position that doesn't require that much of stress, because
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
becoming a regional sales manager, that means like you have to deal with a whole with like a whole different picture. I mean, like
Right.
you have to travel, you have to like always ask your opinion, you have to balance. I mean, like for my
Mm-hmm.
experience, okay, I work with this kind of people, and they have to, first of all, I mean, like they have to stay cool. They have
Mm-hmm.
to suck it up. I mean, like they cannot argue with their with their bosses, and they have to be how can I say, neutral. I mean, they cannot go like to the left side. They cannot go to the right side. They always have to stay in the middle. But
Mm-hmm.
that is the most important part, because they have to deal with like so many people. They have to balance them. They have to they have to know how to like interact with them, and also they have to pretty much report everything that they do to his boss.
Right.
hmm
Yeah.
So I mean,
You have
like,
to report.
of course, I mean, like, I would have hired him, but but I mean, like, wait for a little while, and then like I give him another position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. Well, now we have to describe Frank Davis. What does he value? What Frank Davis
Okay.
value? Uh, for what I've seen in the case, I think one of the things that he wanted from Thomas was first to know his schedule, because he was complaining about Thomas that he never filled out his calendar, so he never knew where Thomas was, and also to have answers from him because Frank was looking from him on the phone, like, and Thomas never answered, and he remembered things to Thomas about reports that he had to do, and Thomas never did anything of that. Where the thing that he wanted is work from him, from Thomas to Frank. Show him to Frank that Thomas was answer to him, responding all the inquiries that Frank was asking from Thomas. You know, I I see that like Thomas had to work for Frank. Frank wanted that, like Thomas showed him that he treated like a boss. You know.
hmm Yeah, and also I would say, I mean, like the relationship between like Frank and Thomas, it was like, if you wanna eat like like an asado, you have to have la parrilla, and and the carbón, and
Mm-hmm.
also the meat. I mean, like you have to work together. I mean, like if your boss is calling you, texting you, email you, it is because he's new, you're new. He wants to trust somebody else besides his assistant, to give him like a new input. So I mean, like pretty much
Mm-hmm.
Thomas was doing like his Thomas was creating his own world, instead of
Mm-hmm.
like combining his world and like a Frank's world into like a big world, so
Yeah.
they can like go to, and also because Frank knew about that position, because he was the previous manager before Thomas. So
Mm-hmm.
he knew the drill. He know like how to get results. So and sadly, I mean, like, even though I mean you can be like like a pretty face, like a funny guy, but at the end of the day, any company always look for the numbers. They like always
Right.
want the numbers to be like as high as possible.
Right. Yeah. 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 They want someone to deliver the job done, something like that.
Correct. Hmm.
Uh, Now he says, what is the end goal is after? I think after he start to create a case against Thomas is to get rid of him, because he sent those emails complaining of all the uh, mistakes that he does, all the lack of professionalism and things like that. So I think he's trying to, okay, if this continue in this way, we're gonna have to look for a new person for that position. He suggests that
Hmm.
idea. So I think he's trying to get rid of him, not get fired.
Yeah, I mean,
That's my
like, of
impression.
course, I mean, like, of course, I mean, like, uh, I have a manager saying like I always, want them, want them, to work, along with me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like,
Mm-hmm.
I always, look for like people, who wants to be engaged, who wants to
Mm-hmm.
be 100%, compromised, who has,
Yeah.
the right like attitude, and also, they are like a very like they have like a good habit. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't see like that kind of people, first of all, who doesn't want to be coachable, I will
Mm-hmm.
I will be like I mean, I would say to them, you are great, you have like a
Mm-hmm.
really nice ideas, but for me right now it is not the appropriate time to work with you now.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
Right.
I can like I will push. So I mean, like, oh, of course, I mean, like, if Tom, if Thomas, doesn't, deliver, what he was supposed to deliver.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you. So I mean, like, sadly, that is that is the real world. Okay? If you don't, deliver, the numbers, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Next person
Yeah.
online.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a word. Okay. Now this says describe Thomas Green. What does he value?
Please, right,
Mm,
Thomas Green.
Thomas. Well, uh, I would say first of all that according to him, he delivered more realistic numbers in the projections. Okay, but uh, he val he value the relationships with the people, because he traveled a lot among the company, trying to know them, trying to know how the things work. But all the investigation that he did, it seems to be very superficial. You know,
Okay.
he never says that he was sitting there with reports from years ago and creating like statistics to know, okay, this is how we're doing then, this is how we are now, this is how we're gonna be in a few years, or this is our goals. I see like that. He liked it, like the I don't know how to say sociability of the business or the networking of the business, you know,
Right.
more
Mhm.
than the hard work to create projections with hard data. I think
Yeah. So I would say, I mean,
that's
like, one thing I would value about, Tom is like he had, the right, he has, the right like energy, the right, attitude. I mean, to
mm,
make it work. But the thing, I mean, it is like, I mean, you cannot go into this river. Okay, you cannot follow, this path. I mean, you cannot go wrong because, they have, already all the procedures, and like,
mm-hmm,
all the appropriate, things, what to do for that area to become, successful. So I
mm-hmm,
mean, like, one thing is like he was like a very like, energetic person, as you mentioned it, right? He had
yeah,
like a really good, way, to connect with other people outside, his work. So
right,
something like, that's awesome, all right. But sometimes, I mean, like, you have to know that, if you wanna become like great, we have to work from the inside out, instead of like
right,
working from the outside in.
mm-hmm. Exactly. You have to first understand where you're at and how that works, and then give ideas
Mhm.
to make it, try to change it. And he says,
Mhm.
what is the end goal he is after? What he's looking for? Um, I think he like to work. I don't want to say alone, but he don't like the rules, you know, because he traveled everywhere he had to go. He never answered to anybody, basically. Even to Frank, he never say anything to him. Uh, so I think we should after maybe his next position. I don't know if he really uh, understood his new position, how he
Okay.
had to work, and maybe he was looking for the next one, to keep climbing.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that mean like as we were like saying before that. I mean like we gotta follow step one, two, three,
Hmm.
four. So in Thomas, for my opinion, he skipped some steps.
Yeah,
So I mean
he gave
like if
a
you
good,
cannot,
good job.
yeah, definitely. So I mean if you don't, I mean like so if you don't follow the rules, all right. So you are creating chaos. So I mean like
Hmm.
that's that is one of the things that like any company doesn't want to deal with. I mean if you bring chaos, thank you, you're out of the company. You always have to bring the appropriate climate inside the
Hmm.
company, and also I mean like w- you know work as a team like uh, as the previous case, right? So Google invests millions of dollars on trying to find the right climate and the in the right you know teamwork to
Hmm.
make it happen. You
Right.
know, also for the future. So Thomas was pretty much like working alone. So he was like there was no loss, no boss, anything. It was only like Thomas, Thomas, and Thomas.
Hmm. Right. That's what I see it. It was very going to be unleashed or something like that. It says, how does the action of Thomas Green differ from the expectation of Frank Davis? Well, that's easy. Frank wants he wants someone that respond to his requests and be more accountable. Someone that at the end of the day comes here and says, "Okay, I achieved this, 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 this. We did this, 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 and that." And Thomas was completely the opposite. He never answered to anybody.
Mhm.
You know? So I think they were very, very opposite one from another.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, like Frank, Frank has, if you see in the sphere of responsibility, right? So Frank has had more responsibility than Thomas. So of
Mm-hmm.
course, I mean, like, of course, I mean, like, he wants to show, to his bosses that he's like a very capable of handling, the whole region. So
Mm-hmm.
if one of his managers is not delivering what he's looking for, he's not getting the appropriate feedback. Of course, I mean like
Mm-hmm.
he has to like step up and be wait. So you are not giving me the all the data that I need
Mm-hmm.
before I set up the goals and the goals and the goals. And so I mean like I have to assume because of my experience that you can deliver this and that. So I mean that's why Thomas was like was very like upset. But
Mm-hmm.
in some way Frank was like and Frank was right. So I mean if you don't give me like all information, I just go to the to my own report and I will start setting setting the goals for you.
Right. Yeah. It says, who is mostly at fault for the state of the current situation? That's a good one. Um, I don't know. We have to give percentage here. Who was the fault? Uh, but I think uh, both Frank and Thomas have a lack of adaptation from one another to another. You know, uh, Frank knew. that Thomas wasn't he hadn't all he had not all the expertise of managing. So
Mhm.
instead of just saying to him, okay, you're gonna have to learn from the managers how to be a manager, maybe he could, tutor him a little bit, train him a little bit, or present someone that, okay, you're gonna be with this manager, follow him for the next 2 weeks so you can learn everything from him, or something like that. And Thomas, when they told him that okay, you're gonna have to learn from the managers, he had to show maybe initiative and grab the first manager that crossed from the door and say, okay, I need to learn this, so I'm gonna follow you everywhere. Show initiative. Okay, I'm gonna try to I'm gonna try to compensate the lack of experience I have learning from this guy. You know, I
Yeah.
think that that's the thing that I see between them. So I couldn't share. I couldn't tell you, okay, so 70-30% of fault. I don't know, but both for me has fault. One, lack of initiative to learn the things that he had. Another, the lack of desire to teach, or to, to send him to someone that will be able and willing to teach him.
Hmm. And I would say, you know, what, what you just said. I will add, one more person
Yeah.
who was like guilty of this, problem too, because Shannon, because she hired Thomas.
Mm,
Okay,
true.
she has to let Frank know what is going on with Thomas. The great things
Hmm.
that Thomas can deliver if he gets the appropriate training. And also
Yeah.
she was supposed to ask Frank, hey Frank, so I'm giving you Thomas. Thomas is great. Thomas is awesome. So
Hmm.
let's prepare a training plan, okay, for a few days, as you mentioned it.
Right.
And
Mm.
please, all right. So as our Father in heaven, right? So if we read in the scriptures, all right, Jesus Christ always gave our Father in heaven a report, a feedback.
Right.
So his
Hmm.
disciples always like giving Christ feedback. So Shannon had to tell Frank, hey Frank, so please I need a feedback. How is Thomas doing? So pretty
Hmm.
giving like a weekly, monthly, and then like a quarterly, because if she wants to have a strong increase into that region, she needs to know as well. So instead of that, she let Thomas working by himself. She let Frank do it. I mean, like working by himself, instead of like putting like that great minds together. She just let them rule. They rule them by themselves.
Hmm. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think that keeping, like you said, periodical reports of his progress, of his learning, will help to uh, diminish the gap that there was between Frank and Thomas. Uh,
Right.
it says, what actions would you take if you were Thomas Green? Well, like I said before, try to learn everything I can from managers because I don't know anything about it. And second, try to learn from Frank, to learn his vision, why he thinks the way he thinks. When you have different vision from one another, okay, you can, okay, try that Frank teach him why he see that kind of data that Thomas does not agree with it. So maybe in that way they can understand each other and find new projections for the company in the marketing department because they didn't know anything about each other. Like you said, they didn't have a relationship in any way. So if they don't learn from each other, sooner or later, and we will see in the case, they're gonna start to have confrontations, and that's what happened.
Hmm. So I would say, like when you hang out with the right people, you will do
Hmm.
always the right thing. So like from my opinion, Thomas didn't like push hard enough to become friend friend
Hmm.
Frank, best, a collaborator. So instead of that,
Yeah.
he just went, by himself. So, he didn't ask, for help. He just assumed that, assuming is the worst thing that a manager, I can do. So because, you are, pretty much, playing like a Russian, roulette. So you don't know when
Hmm.
you're gonna, shoot yourself. So I mean, like, from personal experience, I can say, I mean, like, when I always ask, when I become, friends, with other people,
Hmm.
that's what, my boss always said. I mean, like, you cannot give every 100% of what you are doing to only like in one company. You have to be fair. You have to, split, your knowledge. You have to become friends of like each one of them.
Hmm.
So I mean, like, because if you have the right the right people into your networking, you can learn
Hmm.
more out of them instead of like doing hey, I think like I should sell this for that price before like asking, because if I do it my way, so, my
Hmm.
boss will say, wait, you just sold that product for less than the cost value, so you are making the company lose money. Wait, wait,
Right.
wait, 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 wait. You were supposed to wait for this product to be sold because it was supposed to be solved in the next 5 months. So I mean, like, when you are assuming that you can do whatever you want, you are going like out of the way. So they will like give you a promotion to become a their customer. So pretty much you're fired.
Right. Right. No, totally true. Now says second analysis section says how does power and office politics come into play? Like what each person wants, uh, the links between key results and characteristics. Well, I think first of all of them, at least between Frank and Thomas, I can't say anything about Shannon because we you don't see too much about her maybe at the beginning. But Frank and Thomas, wanted to uh, keep the power that he had, and he was very upset that Thomas didn't respect that power. Because Thomas, like I said, he was doing everything by himself, never reporting to Frank, and so he wasn't respecting the power that Power had as his boss. So
Right.
that was very, uh, I don't want to say personal attack, but something similar, you know. So in that way, because he didn't respect Frank as a boss, Frank also maybe feel offended and start to see that all the things that Thomas did wrong and start to report to his boss, Frank, to Shannon, that that we have they have to do something about that uh, attitude, because something that Frank complained about Thomas is the attitude that Thomas had. So I think in that way, Frank was wanted that Thomas respect the power, the position of power that Frank had as his boss, and Thomas never did that.
Yeah. I mean, like, if we go into like if we don't have so many details about like let's say I would love to have more details about Thomas,
Mm-hmm.
a management team, because
Mm-hmm.
if Thomas had a great manager, under his wing. So I don't know. I mean, like, why 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 he was failing. So maybe because as you said before, as I said also, I mean, when you are trying to do everything by yourself, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like, you will crack. I mean, like, of course, I mean, like, you cannot handle everything by yourself. So, and I can say, I mean, like, Thomas, the management team, was was the same thing that Frank had before. So I mean, like, that's why Frank Frank was kind of frustrated because he said, wait. So I wasn't succeeding with the same people.
Mm-hmm.
I know my previous crew. So I mean like why Thomas is not getting the same results, or because when you get another position, you always expect that that person that is feeling if for you gives give the same results, or for a personal opinion, you have to
Mm-hmm.
do it better than me to prove that you are better than me.
Right.
So I mean like I would say that there are like different like internal factors, external factors. So I mean we don't see into the details, but I mean
Mm-hmm.
if we put more attention, if we imagine, so maybe like he was doing small things that he wasn't supposed to be doing.
Right. Right. Yeah. Correct. Says, what are each of their conflict styles? Huh. Says characteristic if they were aggressive or uncooperative behavior. Each party gave up something to gain something. Disassociation, ignoring, discontinuing the conflict, working together to find a common resolution. Um, I would say competition. There- I'm not like saying that it was very clear competition, but first of all, uh, they never cooperate together. In
Right.
at least I didn't see nothing like that. And Thomas always ignored the the things uh, that Frank was claiming from him. Every time he claims a report, every time that uh, wanting a call from Thomas, Thomas never gave back the call to Frank. So they never like worked together. They would say there was like between competitions and avoidance.
Mm. Yeah, I mean like like we don't we don't know because because Thomas came, he was recommended by Shannon, so
Mm-hmm.
we don't know how good were the relationship between Shannon and Frank. So we don't
Mm-hmm.
know if Shannon was working before with Frank, and Shannon took the step up, and Frank
Yeah.
stayed the same. So that happens. And also I would say it is like easy to get rid of like a person,
Yeah.
but I mean like sometimes you know I would say like, or or maybe Frank was trying to show Shannon that she didn't have the good eye by hiring Thomas. So I mean like
Mm-hmm.
there are like many like factors. I mean it can be like envy. It can be Frank maybe has had another person in mind.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Frank
mean
wants
like
somebody else. I don't know who, but he wants
so I
somebody
mean like
else.
if he was trying to have his own crew, or he promised somewhere else that position. So I would say so I mean like and also I mean like if you are the boss, I mean like I mean if you wanna get the result, you have to go to that person. So I mean
Mm-hmm.
like he was trying to get rid of Thomas because he didn't maybe he wasn't part of his the people that he was hanging around all the time. He was
Mm-hmm.
the stranger guy.
Right. Says, what should he do now? I think he's talking
Who,
about
Thomas
Thomas.
or
If
Frank?
he's, I don't know. He doesn't say. I think it's
Uh,
Thomas. If it's Thomas, I think like I said before, he should have to learn from managers how to be a manager. You know, and learn from Frank. Try to create a relationship with him, a certain bond, to understand his perspective. You know, like even when at the end of the day maybe it's going to be disagree or not, but he have to give the chance to learn from him because he's his boss, and you have to understand the vision that he has so you can help him to achieve that vision.
Hmm. So if I was Thomas, so if I am in this kind of situation, all right, I'm not being coached by anybody else. I'm just the guy there who wants to do his job. I will be looking for I will be looking for another job. If I don't see that kind of a support, I will say, I mean, like, I will be looking for another job.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it was a very tense environment after a few months. Uh, says, how can he salvage the situation? Like, what can he do to repair the situation? Like I said, learn, uh, show. I think he had to show uh, a desire to change, to gain the experience that he doesn't have from others. Be more cooperative. Maybe ask for advice for Frank. You know, like, okay, I do the things this way. How we do it here, and maybe Frank can teach him how the things have to be done in the company. How what is the style of the company to do things. Uh, you know, to be more participate with others, interact more, and also to show in Frank that he has changed by answering the calls that Frank does to him, uh, be prepared with the report that he wants, have hard data in his evaluation, his projections, and not just saying what he thinks and never have a backup to support that affirmation that he says. You know, he had to show a change in general.
Right. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, like, as I mentioned, I mean, like, if I see, I mean, there is a little bit of support, and there is
Mhm.
still a little you know seed of hope. So of course I will do my best to improve, and
Mhm.
I will I will learn from what happened, and I will I move on.
Right. Yeah, but you have to show that he can change, that he can become part of the company. I think that's a little bit the
Right.
problem. He didn't feel part of the company. It says, what can he
Right.
do to repair the relationship with Davis? I mean, with Frank. What Thomas can do to repair the relationship with Davis? Then create a bond.
Uh,
Meet him beyond the office. Maybe find out something that they can do together. I don't know. Go to the Dodgers. I don't
oh
know.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, like, if Frank loves sports, whatever he likes. I mean, I will like approach him and give him like the right invitation, and try to
Mhm.
bond outside the company.
Right. Yeah, he had to do that. He had to create a bond with him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Um, application. How can managing app be applied at work? What was managing app? What was managing app? I'm gonna lost that. Give me a second. What
Okay.
is called managing app? Uh, uh, doesn't say anything. Mm, what is managing app?
Alejandro, sorry. And
Yeah.
what was the question?
It says, how can managing up be applied at work?
Okay.
I don't know idea what is managing up. I'm looking for it. I think maybe it refers to. uh, the way they interact, not only the relationships, the way that first the way that Thomas was organized and the way that Frank was, I think, it had to be with the confronted the structures between them, the way they would each one of them do their job, managing up is create a structure that everybody can be part of, and even when they have different style too, they can have a common ground. I think it's have to do with something like that, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, like from my opinion, I would say they have to meet halfway, 50-50. So they can say like, hey, like I do this, this part better, so you can do it, we can meet halfway and see
Mm,
what works, and also
yeah,
see what doesn't work.
right. Um, okay. Are you driving? Kevin, are you driving?
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Uh,
driving.
don't. Are you sure you can do that? Don't drive while you're talking
Yeah,
on the phone. It's
no,
not
no, no,
very,
no, it's fine. That's why I
not
have
very
my Bluetooth on.
okay. Uh, what are the principles of power within an organization structure? Principles of power. Okay, let me see. Principles of power. Let me see. Let me see. What are the principles of power within an organization structure? Maybe refers to the different levels in an organization. The principles of power.
So the question is about the principle of organizational structure. That one.
Principles of power within an organizational structure. What are there? Honestly, I have no idea.
Yeah,
I'm trying
maybe like it was part of the other article,
I'm looking
maybe I
in
was
the other
too.
article and I don't find anything. It talks about
Well, let me
managing
see.
conflicts, balancing conflict.
Mm.
Um,
So, oh, we can think about it. So, how many questions left? Do we have?
We have that one, and after that we have how do office politics come into play in many organizations? Well, office politics, that's easy. Office politics tells you how you have to address in basically any situation. What are the policy of the company when this happen, or what are the policy of the company with customers, between with employees, between employees, who are your superiors, who are your subordinates. Politics is like the rules and the procedures that the company has.
Yeah. hmm
So,
So
like he's.
I mean like every company, every like CEO, vice president, they always have their own people,
Mhm.
and like pretty much they also have their own see their own way to see to follow the rules. So I
Mhm.
mean they might be they might be using their own rules instead of using the company rules. So
Yeah.
I mean like I mean like you have to be like very careful. I mean have to manage it, have to use the politics I mean like in your favor and also against other people.
Mhm. Right. Says, how can someone be proactive in managing office politics, power, conflict, etc.? How you can someone be proactive? Well, first of all, you have to know what you have to do. Like you can invent. And second of all, you have to be uh, very perceptive in the different situations that the company is going. Or your if you're a manager, you have a group. You have to be perceptive to a situation of your subordinate. If you have a boss, you have to be very uh, uh, ¿cómo se dice atento? Very
Yeah,
very perceptive
in
to
terms of
details, you know.
yeah, I mean like
So,
I would say I mean like if you follow the right procedures, so
hmm
you will have like a really good day, week, year. So whatever you do, it will be like very like very helpful for you.
hmm yeah, that's good. Says connections. What gospel connections are pertinent? Talking of gospel connection, I think I have something. Give me a second.
Okay.
Mm, um, a second. I said, and Doctrine and Covenants, section 45, uh, verse 10. It says, wherefore come ye unto it, and with him that cometh I will reason as with men in days of old, and I will show unto you my strong reasoning. And the 11 says, wherefore hearken ye together, and let me show unto you even my wisdom, the wisdom of him whom you say is the God of Enoch and his brother. I think like the Lord in the opportunity is showing, uh, is teaching, you know, to the prophet and to all everybody that was there. and but they work together to understand what the Lord wanted in that opportunity, you know. And I think that's what the connection that I can find with managing. To managing, you have to have a certain, like we have now in the in the Sunday classes, like councils, you know. So
Mhm.
in companies, you need to have councils to share your ideas, to share your perspective. So to a point that everybody's agree of what we have to be done and how they're gonna do it and who's gonna do it, you know. So that's the kind of connection I find.
Yeah, and also, if we separate, the word manage or
Mm-hmm.
manager or like management. Manage can be like man age. So
Mm-hmm.
we have to working in together with like a man and woman of different ages. So we can have like a teenager, we can have like an adult, we can have like a senior citizen. We have people from our on age. But like if you learn how to treat people right, how to deal with them, always in the right way, so
Mm-hmm.
they will see how good you are, because dealing dealing with people is an art. So there
Mm-hmm.
there are people they can get along with like anybody else, and they are like geniuses who don't have like a really good social skills, so they don't know how to like interact. So they they get like upset, they get like mad. But there are like other people on the other side that
Mm-hmm.
they're not like geniuses, but they know how to work along with other people.
Right. Right. Exactly. And that has to do with the other question. It says, are there any connections between this case and this week reading assignment? If it's so, what are they? I think it had to do with the habit of interdependence that we have seen in a few chapters of the book. That maybe some people think that if they're alone and they do everything by themselves, everything's going to be cool. But uh, actually, the higher place that you can be to grow is the interdependence, when you interact with others and work with others to achieve a greater goal, you know. And I think it has to do with that, that we have to learn to be interdependent, and they had to do it too, not only for their work, also for their lives. They have to keep their egos from aside and try to find a way where they can have a common ground and work together.
Hmm. That is true. I, I mean like when a company lack of a communication
Hmm.
between the main boss, between the any like employee. That's why
Hmm.
a lot of misunderstandings arise, and that's why a lot of people gets frustrated, and a lot of people start making like their own rules, and they form the groups that they think that they can rule the company. So
Right.
instead of working together as a team,
Hmm.
like you know they work together like an army. So whatever thing is gonna become become very like a wrong with them,
Hmm.
that will so they will fight it back. So they will be very like aggressive. So I would
Right.
say like if we when a company is very clear you know in the policies, and they have a good a good communication channel, so
Hmm.
everything works it works fine.
Right. Yeah, communication is essential for everything.
Mhm.
Uh, it says, okay, so the key concept that we have seen in this case is first, what happened was there is lack of communication when there is no cooperation between the members of an organization. uh,
Mhm.
the lack of uh, help one another to achieve their goals, to achieve uh, their vision, and even to improve. Like Frank David had to learn how to teach Thomas how to be a manager. Thomas had to help Frank to achieve those projections that he wanted, and nobody did anything about that. So the interactions between it in a company or in a group is essential. Um, and here there's an extraction of the case that has to do with, I think it's like a conclusion of the cases. After McDonald's February 5, 2008 email, Green took the offensive against his boss. He crafted a series of memorandums, emails, reports, and projections that exposed inaccuracy and creative forecasting. This data enabled Green to build some alliance with other marketing personnel who used the data to ultimately side with him. On April 4, it was announced that Frank Davis was being moved laterally to an undefined special project. However, Green's tactics were seen as overly brutal by many in the company, and also he won the battle against his boss. His career was irreparably harmed. McDonald distanced herself from him. By July 2008, Green announced he was resigning from his position to pursue full-time studies for an MBA. We can only speculate what would have occurred if Green had tried to help Davis work out the discrepancies and problems with forecasts. Perhaps both would have succeeded. You know, they continue battle until they destroy like everything. Frank was gone. Green resigned and went to his MBA, and McDonald just take another path to be away from both of them.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's chaotic. It's very chaotic. Like they never sit down to fix the problem. They always keep battling between them.
Mhm. Instead of instead of giving, using, the right medicine, they like, only use a small pill, to solve, the problem. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like, I mean, so they make, a small fixable problem. They make it in like in a big problem
Mm-hmm.
that at the end, it was very like, unfixable.
Yeah, yeah, like the snowball effect. They make it bigger and bigger problem, bigger problem, bigger problem until it was unstoppable. That's sad. Okay, that's all
Yeah.
that we had to do today. Okay,
Okay. Thank you, Alejandro.
thanks, Ewan. Hope this has been
Okay.
useful. And I don't know, let's hope we have news from our friends in the discussion board. Okay,
All right.
have a great
Sure. See
day.
you next week then.
Bye
Take care.
bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.